Yeah, I jump in there. When I introduced Mr. Femi Boede earlier, amongst many other things, I was very particular about how he's passion driven, and you can see that from the way he speaks. And if we give him the floor, he can keep on going. But I will welcome Dr. Omolara Akanji very quickly, and then Boston Sholarin will follow. Doctor, welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank Mr. Kalu and Madam Afi for their presentation and intervention. I want to say that we are supposed to look at the two ends of the market, the import and the export. And in the analysis of Mr. Kalu, he mentioned the issue of our FX forward trade, the FX forward trade, as it were. Sorry. The FX forward trade, it was reported at 6.84 billion. I will be glad if we can disaggregate that number, because when you are looking at the export side, you know there are rules and regulations for the export revenue, as it were. Not all will come into the country. But this forward trade that we have made, as it were, the forward FX reserve. Sorry. I think we will need to know which aspect of this 6.84 billion it's owned by the private sector and how much is owned by the public sector. Because when you export, you want to try to be in charge of your revenue. And that was what Madam Afi was talking about. That, you know, to repatriate sometimes it's not too encouraging because of all the rules. But we need to break down this number of FX forward sales, because there's a kind of mismatch between this figure and the exports that we are trying to drive. That's my point. I hope the two sides can be able to help me to resolve this my issue, because it's an issue for me. If we know how the side of the public sector that owns part of the reserve, the forward reserve that we have sold out, and the government side of it that we have sold out, I will be very delighted.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Omolara Akanji, former director at the CBN and currently on the board of the International Chambers of Commerce. We really do appreciate your presence every now and then. And I hope that either Madam Afi or Mr. Ikechukwu Kalu would be able to respond to that. But we can take it, if it's okay with you to respond to 2 comments at a time, I would welcome Boston Sholarin to also make a very short intervention, and either of you can take the floor. Madam Boston Sholarin, please.
Oh, yes. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Here, members that are present here. I want to thank Tatridge for giving me this opportunity to speak. I want to thank Mr. Kalu, thank Madam Afishetu. Now, please permit me to be a bit angry and raw. Is Nigeria problem a cause?
Madam, take
because it's like we try to go forward, and then you look, they dash your hope. And I don't get.
Madam
Afishetu, maybe this is where I should conclude, but let me start with it. Please create that shelf and that shop and take Nigerian micro exporters there. Now, for my point, Mr. Kalu, I heard a bit of what you have said, but I don't even want to comment, because if the government that has banned placed 43 items on a banned list, and then we come back, we remove those bans, and then we're complaining every day that the dollar is not there. And so it has to keep going up, and people can barely eat. People can barely buy drugs. Please, permit me. I am not where I can put on my video, so that's why you won't see me. Just listen to my voice.
Okay.
And then we are there. Shouldn't government put that same energy to see how commodities, because bulk of what we collect is in commodities. We keep saying we're trading, and we dash out our resources to people who make money from it. Is it difficult for our government to look for even machines of 10 million will process something, at least semi-processed place cashew, soybeans and co instead of them, and they put that same emphasis that they have put on this 43 banned list to say, okay, nobody should export raw commodities. Is that difficult? Because if we now can buy $1 for 1,200, because me, I sold 1,200, so I was smiling to the bank. But the truth is it difficult for us to take that route so that we can make more money instead of going to beg? Instead of us to go and be begging countries to come and help us resolve our FX issues, when the solutions are here and we have said it. Is it difficult to see an agency of government that is working and we cannot allow that government, even if we must play politics, for that agency to do one more year so that you can task that agency? I'm talking of NEPC. You can task that agency that in 1 year, this is what I need, and let the man go and look for how to get you those things you need so that you can make more dollars. Is it difficult for us to help our people? Because the minimum anybody will take from anyone about certification is HACCP. NEPC has been trying their best to do that. And so people can now export their processed goods out of Nigeria. I was lucky to have been amongst the second set. Now, because of all this change, I don't even know where our certificate is. We have done training, we have done the things in a loop. Is it difficult to get the agencies of government to work to favor? We just finished Lagos International Trade Fair and I was there. And a man from Sun came to my stand, picked one product, made a comment. Why does this one not have address? Why? Meanwhile, somebody just asked me and I just put a label of that name on it. I said, are you not seeing the ones with addresses and the NAFDAC numbers? Then he now snapped that one. I went to his stand and I followed him. And I got to their stand and I said, the lady that was there, I don't know, maybe that lady came from Abuja. And I said, this your man is arrogant. This is not the way to talk to people. You don't talk to businesses like that. And then this lady wanted to talk and she said, you know, you are not even supposed to sell anything without SOL. And I got angry. And I said, I went to your office 18 months ago by myself and picked up your form. That form, you said I cannot fill it until you people visit me. Before I even collected that form, it was another story on its own. I was going from Ikoyi to Victoria Island. I finally collected, and then they all kept saying, I will help you, I will help you. At the time I got angry and I said, I don't need the help. All I want is I want to register for ManCap. So don't help me. I'm in a government agency to get service. I don't need help. So they now left me. I said, that form is still in my house uncompleted. And she said, because you can be completing it and you make a mistake. And I'm like, wow, these people think we're all dumps. So that form is there, and then you keep going, and then you are harassing people. And I said, is this how government agencies should work? NAFDAC wants to come to your place after collecting 90,000 for one product from an MSA for a micro, and they say, I have grown because I want to do 7. I have grown to become small. You collected 90,000. Your people are coming to my factory. They are telling me to pay for their transportation to send vehicles. And I told that guy, I said, my car is not working. I don't have a vehicle. So when we started arguing, somebody now just calmed me down and said, how much is Uber from Oshodi to Baghdad? I just paid. And I paid. Is that how we should be treated in this country? We pay. So many things are happening. That is NAFDAC. Please, if government is serious, we need to look down. At least if we must get NAFDAC, let NAFDAC people be human beings. Not the way they are. Let some people be human beings. Lastly, why can't we also help Nigerian exporters like the Fidelity she talked about? I sent my goods, but the goods never got there till the thing finished. And it's like also, how many people went for the fair? So it's neither here nor there. Meanwhile, the answer to all this money we're looking for every day is so easy. People have said severally, is it what will do every month or every 2 months, and other people. What does it take us? That's why when I started, I said, the thing na cost. Thank you so much.
No, because
enjoy your day.
Thank you. You again touch on some of the complications Ikechukwu made in his presentation about logistics, about infrastructure, about incohesiveness. But I pass the floor back to our guest speakers. I don't know who wants to come first, Madam Brimo or Mr. Kalu.
I can say something, like Mr. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Yes.
Okay. So, like Mr. Femi said, I'm on the ground. So literally, on the ground. So for me, in responding to the last speaker, she's spot on. You can feel everybody is passionate every time we talk about this, the challenges and the situation. It all starts from home. It all starts from the grassroots. If we don't get it right locally, then it's hard for us to get it across, the pond. So, but what Mr. Femi said is try and stick to what can we do to get us from 4.8 to 25 billion. One of the things that, I think he made mention of, but literally is our agencies like NEPC, NIPC, and probably a few others engage the local chambers of commerce in those countries where we want to do business with, or where basically the largest marketplace on the globe. We can even start with America. I was told there was a trade house that was set up or was supposed to be set up in America. Till today, I don't even know where it is. There are trade houses that have been set up in Togo, I think Egypt, I think they said China. I know there's one in Kenya. We've sent our goods to the Edo cluster, have sent our products to Kenya. And I believe the goal of these trade houses is to showcase our products, and then get, local companies to come in and buy them. The question is, how functional are they right now? We sent our products from the Edo cluster 3 months ago to go to the trade house in Togo, and we've been monitoring it, only to be told just recently that the goods are still in Lagos and we need to now pay extra to take it to the trade house in Togo. And the question is, what is going on here, right? But if our chambers of commerce, not just the chambers of commerce, but also the agencies, directors of these agencies, and the last administration on the NEPC did a phenomenal job in doing a lot of things with the NEPC as relates to global trade, is to be able to engage with them locally. When you engage with them locally, a number of things happen. One, they start to know who you are. It's important they get to know who you are. Secondly, you start putting it in their face about the kind of products we have, the great quality products we have, and building those relationships. Take advantage of AGOA. And then instead of doing trade shows from, say, US to Nigeria, fund trade, not just trade shows, but fund trade missions so that our exporters from Nigeria get an opportunity to visit these countries and see for themselves what these shelves even look like, what the buyers even look like, and then have meetings with potential buyers, including the Customs and Border Patrol, because then they get to hear it, directly from the decision makers as to what it would do for them to successfully export. In the number of trade shows that has happened recently when Nigerians came, you know what I did? With the ones that came to Florida, for example, I took them to a store like the dollar store. And because they do maybe snacks or whatever, I help them look at the shelves and say, these are the kind of shelves that your products are going to end up in. You know why? If you're doing plantain chips, there's a certain price that after that price, you ain't going to sell. And now, because of the economy, the inflation and all that's going on and the price of goods, a lot of people, me included, shop in the dollar store now. You'll be surprised what you find in the dollar store. Normally, it's cleaning supplies, but now bread, everything is there. And they're competing with Walmart. Walmart constantly sends buyers to go and see so they can kind of match those prices. There's nothing called a dollar store anymore, in writing. It's a dollar store name, but it's now $125, right? And so you have to say, look, can I price my products? Because I introduced one to a buyer and she was pricing her cashew nuts at $5. The woman said, I cannot buy it at $5. Look at the ones that are on my shelf, how much I'm selling. And she said, Ma, this is how much I sell in Nigeria. This is not Nigeria. There's a price point after which you cannot sell. That's just the bottom line. And I tell people, if you cannot go there, use Amazon. If your prices do not fit with the highest review product on Amazon, then you need to go and revisit that. That's one. The second thing is, buyer-seller matchmaking, being able to match buyers with sellers. This is where people like me come in, because we have to be on ground to be able to build those relationships, to be able to do that. Thirdly, the government needs to set up packaging centers. A lot of our products are being returned because of how our goods are packaged. We're not complying with the rules of how we package products, and a lot of them are returned. Then you talk about the content, whether it's the fertilizer used or not used, or the beans or the yam and all that. If Ghana has got it right, we could learn a thing or two, from the Ghanaians. And then to what the lady said, if they're banning some things to be exported, then the government needs to create industrialization centers and policies to be able to help the average SME be able to go through the value chain, so they can as well now export these products as a processed product, as opposed to a commodity, right? Because, for example, in Edo State now, we have the Benin River ports that is being built, so that we can then move products straight to the sea in Lagos, and then maybe even maybe through Calabar or wherever, so that we can export. Because Benin is a segue to all these other states. And then also we're building a Benin industrial park. If we have these kinds of things with export houses, strategically located, and even packaging centers where people can bring their products just before export to say, does this pass? It's like a NAFDAC, does this pass? And if it does, then at least we have helped solve a problem, because now we understand what is required in the foreign area, so that we can meet those requirements and then be able to pass the LIM test. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We'll still come to you for the closing thoughts in a bit. Mr. Ikechukwu, I don't know if you have any reflections, or we could move to the two other hands that are up. Mr. Ikechukwu, if you have any reflections, we welcome them now.
Okay. So I'm just going to pick my intervention from the answering as regards to the last question that was asked as to how government can intervene. In my presentation, I spoke about how we can cluster and bring proper advocacy. I see that in the narration that she did, where the NAFDAC person where they had to relate with the regulator, there was no reference to any cluster head or anything. There was no reference to any previous relationship, any established relationship. So there's still that regulated relationship is still not there. And so for clusters, or for people who are in that category, we must have associations where people must have gone through the inspection, who have gone through, so you know what to expect when they come, not demands that are arbitrary. So you understand that, facilitate that sort of relationship with NAFDAC itself. And then you also facilitate relationship with their agencies like PEBEC, where if regulators are giving you a tough time, you can make complaints and they can look at it and really, really look into your case and try to mediate between you guys. But then, if it is on a case-by-case basis, it becomes a problem. And so what I would advise in that sense is, let's get ourselves together, get yourself together, engage with these bodies. The NDPC is there, the PEBEC is there, they are all there to hear most of that. And the NDPC is responsible for export. For people like AFI, I expect that, of course, there will be a ranking sort of system where top exporters or people who are involved. So you have a database such that they know who to contact when they want to go on those missions. I expect that NDPC should have such institutional frameworks. And if it's missing, these are the sort of things that should come up when you interact with, when they have meetings and you interact with some of these regulators. And so that would be my intervention in that case. So that clustering. The logistics as well. In terms of also other relationships, I see Afi mentioned some of the things that the state governments are doing. State governments are also very important in this conversation. I mean, they could do a lot more because they are with the local people, so they understand the challenges better and that they can intervene. And so one of the things that could happen is to make much more demands from state governments because they are closer and they can, maybe Ministry of Commerce, maybe Ministry of Investment, whichever one that's responsible within your sphere of operation, I think that they can be able to intervene in such matters. To the question of FS forwards, most of the FS forwards that you see in that $6 billion have been FS forwards that were banking, private sector related. They paid money and they were expecting to be able to get credited so that they could fund their at a certain date, and that didn't come, and so that's supposed to come up later on. But we see that CBN sort of missed deadline and didn't pay some people, and that created some tension in the market, and you saw the hairwire that you have. And so basically it's from the private sector, people who gave CBN money ahead of time, and CBN promised, they gave CBN Naira, and CBN promised to give them dollars at a certain date in future. So that's it. I think one more question from Olufemi. But he was making reference to the fact that what could be done in terms of the $25 billion as to what I think that could be done in terms of how governments could respond, why targets should be set. One of the things that I know for certain is that we talked about logistics operations. The government has said, this new government has said that they were setting up an export corridor for the Apapa ports. For the Apapa ports, we have a terminal has been dedicated to exports only. And I expect that people who are into exports will engage government on that to ensure that those that efficiency that is required for export products is maintained in that place. So everything you have, there's a body, advocacy body in the ports in terms of bribery, and I see the way they do their reports. They silently put their advocacy in the media to say, this is where we have the highest bribe demand. This is where we have. I expect that sort of things where you have the bottlenecks. I expect within that terminal, exporters are giving information to say, this is where we have issues. This is where there's delay. This is where we experience bottleneck. This is where, put the information out there. Let it not be hidden. Put the information out there so that people can engage with these things. People can understand. Even policymakers can see the embarrassment that, yes, these guys are, they want to really do this, and then they're being, they are making the loudest noise as to what is important for their industry. So there has to be that conversation. There has to stay that conversation.
I'll jump in there. I'll jump in there and steer the conversation towards Mr. Ali Nda Abu. I think he's the South Africa trade attaché. I know his hand has been up for a while, and he's been in and out. So Mr. Ali Nda Abu, please, I'll give you the floor. Then Mr. Mohammed AK, and we get the last closing comment from Mr. Femi Boyede.
I know you want me to come in to make closing comments, but I just wanted to encourage my dear brother Ike. There's this saying that happy are those who expect little, for they will never be disappointed. I'm sorry to say that your expectations are just too high level, too high up there, and may not be met in the way that you want them to be met. Every single thing that you have said, my dear brother, Patrick is just one of those voices that have been trying to amplify. In fact, if you ask me, I don't know why I still have a voice, because my larynx should have disintegrated many years ago. I started this campaign 30 years ago, but it's not about me. It's just to give you an insight into what some of us, including John Isemede, I don't know if he had another engagement, have been on for over 30 years. We have been championing this. So I'm aware of Wale Adeniyi, the Controller General of Customs, interest and passion, and the reason why he designated Lily Pond as an export terminal. But I can tell you for a fact and for free that I was on an NTA program, Lens on Africa, about 2 Fridays ago with the controller of the Lily Pond export terminal of the Nigerian Customs Service. I think this is scratching the surface. I think that people like Wale Adeniyi, Dera Ansem, and the gentleman controller who was on that program with me actually need also to put together probably a bigger think tank of people like you, Afi, and some of the other eggheads out here on this call today. And then I'm using that as they say in when they do Christian crusades, as a point of contact, because we seem to be preaching to the converted. When you bring government agents to these conversations, NEPC had a national conference on non-oil exports at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel about 1.5 to 2 months ago. And I can tell you that immediately after the closing ceremony, immediately after, even the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment had gone, because for them, the success is in the opening ceremony. But these are the people who are supposed to sit down and listen to what you and I and other players, stakeholders, and practitioners are saying. They never do. And this has been a recurrent, perennial challenge. The authorities never sit down to listen, to hear, so that they can map out an action plan. And for that reason, we at Catholic have decided that everything, that's why we record what we're saying, we push it down their throat and hope that one day, I told Afi this morning, let's not relent in what we are doing. Someday, it will get to the ear of somebody who will feel our concern, who will feel our pain, and do something about moving this sector forward. My very first interview with on Morning Line with Nancy at the onset of this administration, I articulated and amplified the fact that I have seen all the economic initiatives that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration has put on the plate. Until today, I am yet to see a single one that is devoted to non-oil exports and the critical role that it's got to play in Nigeria's economy. Until the government itself, because we are a government-led economy, because even a country as advanced as Canada, as advanced as Australia, as advanced as the United States of America, they have deliberate policies, deliberate strategies, deliberate support tools, instruments, and incentives to support their trading outside their shores. Until we get to this level, Nigeria is a non-starter.
I'll jump
Sorry,
in.
Sheyi,
I
needed
to
there,
yes. That. And we need you to save your larynx so that when we get there, we can sing, hallelujah together. Let's get this last set of comments. I'm very aware of the time. We're short past the time. And if you leave it left to me, I think if we go on for the next 30 to 40 minutes, we can still have very meaningful conversation. But I'm going to welcome Mr. Ali Nda, please. I knew you were going to speak before Mr. Boyede took the mic. Please, I will welcome you now, please.
Thank you, Faye, for the opportunity. And I think for me, this is always one of my learning platforms where I pick a lot of knowledge from. Femi Boyede, long before now, I said in one of the conferences that let's pray. When he said let's pray, everybody closed their eyes and said, may the oil well of Nigeria dry. And that is how the journey began for Boyede in terms of oil export. And I think I'm so passionate and I'm so proud of what he's doing so far. But I think, you see, basically, I rose my hand, but I brought it down because I realized that many things I wanted to say was already said. For example, let me give one critical example. Now, from where they talk about government participation in this kind of conferences, this kind of webinar, there are no government representative. I'm a government official, but I'm attending this event just for me to have knowledge. But you see, there's always a big issue between the regulatory agencies, NAFDAC, and what do you call the other guys, SON. So I think there has to be that deliberate handshake between those agencies if they really want to move the non-export forward. And that's one thing I think we should also look at. And then secondly, I think again, a focus should also go in line with what the first presentation talked about. Is the funding of MSMEs. They even say you are funding MSMEs for export-led growth. It's not what we're doing in Nigeria. I know I've been in South Africa for like a year plus now. And within this period of my stay, I see what government does for MSMEs to export their product outside the shore of South Africa. And I think we'll begin to think more into that line. And thirdly, I had a conversation with NEPC ED recently, and I was saying to her, look, our focus is becoming too wide. Why not focus on specific products? Let's just pick analysis of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products and say, okay, we'll focus on these products. We'll take it from the beginning. I mean, is it from farm, you say in English, to the shelves. Let's develop that strategy. And then again, begin to give our export promotion agencies target to meet, target to achieve, and target to move Nigeria forward in terms of the non-export. I thank you for the opportunity. And my honorary commissioner, it's nice seeing you for the first time after we've spoken many, many times on phone. Thank you, Shane.